up, everyone? Welcome to Sam Phillies Sports History for August 20th, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Tuesday edition of the podcast. As you can see, I'm broadcasting from Penn State, and it is Tuesday. We'll get into our positivity/motivation in a minute. But I got to say, if you hear a loud rumbling sound that sounds like a freight train, that's just the air conditioner. And I usually wouldn't do something like this for fear of losing a potential sponsor, but I think I can probably chalk this one off. I used to live in a fraternity house with 15 other dudes. This is the closest thing I've ever come to that. Spiders in the bathtub. What was supposed to be quesadillas last night for dinner. Not really sure what that was, but won't give the name of the hotel, but it rhymes with Granada Pin. So you make of what you will, but I'm only here for another day, thank goodness, and I'm only sleeping here, but I barely slept last night. Anyway, it is Tuesday, so let's turn that around and make it a little bit more positive. We're back to our normal Tuesday positivity, and I saw this the other day, and I'm really, it tied in with the Olympics, but it really, I think, just fits in with everything. And I think I mentioned him on here before, but Michael Sonbert, who is I met him through an instructional coach for education, but he also does a lot of leadership coaching and things like that. He's with Rebel Culture. And I highly recommend you subscribe to his weekly newsletter and follow him. It's just a lot of good stuff. But the newsletter is The Driven. And in that, he had a quote, I think it was either last week or the week before, that Usain Bolt said. And Usain said he's trained 4 years to run 9 seconds, and people give up when they don't see results in 2 weeks. And I think that was just really profound. And I can apply that to any aspect of my life. I mean, obviously with the podcast, we're approaching the 2-year anniversary, so I thought it was very apropos to kind of talk about that. Where I was 2 years ago compared to now is being in the Granada Pin aside, it's ridiculous, and it's taken a lot of hard work. It's taken a lot of attempts and failures. And I think that's, like I said, that's just for the podcast, but I've been documenting my health and weight loss journey since January. It's not been a straight line down, so there's been ups and downs with that. But again, starting to see results, and just whether it's with parenting, your job, your marriage, whether you're training for a race, really anything you do in your life, and there goes the freight train. Very much anything you do, though, it's going to take some time, and don't give up. And I mean, I think that's really worth saying. I mean, this was Usain Bolt, but any of those folks, the sprinters, even the swimmers to a certain point, they're training sometimes more than 4 years for 2 minutes. And people are giving up because we live in a very instant gratification society, and things aren't easy. And I think a lot of times people give up when they don't see those instant results. But the ones that are successful, the ones that do see the results, typically are the ones that put in the work and don't give up, and realize it's definitely a marathon and not a sprint. I say that a lot, but it truly, truly is. And I was thinking about it the other day. I started probably about 2 weeks ago, I started a new workout regime. Kind of went away from running for the time being, and really focusing on a lot of lifting and things like that. And in 2 weeks, I'm already seeing some things, but I realized that my 50-pound goal that I set might be a little bit lofty, but I'm still grinding, still losing weight. So, like I said, with anything, we're so bred in our society today to get that instant gratification. And the truth of the matter is, it takes work. And if it was easy, everybody would be able to do everything, but it's those that put in the hard work. So just as you go through your week, remember the words of Usain Bolt, who says, I trained 4 years for 9 seconds, and people give up after 2 weeks if they don't see results. So if things get tough and you feel like, I don't want to do this anymore, just kind of keep those words in mind and hopefully that'll get you through your week. And that is today's Tuesday, or this week's, I should say, Tuesday motivation / positivity. All right, some quick housekeeping notes. Be sure to follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mott at Twitter and TikTok, at Instagram, or on Instagram at Philly Jimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, even if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, and just continue to spread the word. We definitely, this is way more than I ever expected when I did this 2 years ago on a whim. And I thank you all for your support, but just continue to spread the word. One more day at Penn State, so I do apologize if the sound is a little off. I tried my best, but as you can hear, the Conrail is going through my room right now, so it kind of makes it hard to sleep. And then if I turn the air conditioner off, it gets 90 degrees in here, so damned if you do, damned if you don't. But we have a big Phillies game tonight. Zach Wheeler is taking on Ronaldo Lopez down in Atlanta, and the Braves need this because the Mets won, come from behind last night. They're breathing down their backs. It's a 7-game lead, so this 3-game series will kind of set the tone to me for the next 13 that the Phillies play. They have these 3 against the Braves, 3 against the Royals, 3 against the Astros, and then 4 more against the Braves. And I think this is going to let us know what this team is. And so much was made about them playing at a 70% clip early in the season. Even more was made about the slump. I think we're going to see the real Phillies team this next 13-game stretch. And for better or for worse, this is really going to set the tone for what hopefully is a postseason run. I don't think anything right now is guaranteed. I think as Philly fans, we know all too well what could happen. All you need to do is look at last year's Eagles. I know guys my dad's generation still live with the ghosts of '64. There's been plenty of times, even with Gabe Kapler and Joe Girardi, where the team was in contention, even Larry Boa, and they faltered down the stretch. So I think we're dealing with those ghosts. But this 13-game stretch is going to go a long way to seeing if this team truly is a legitimate contender or just a team that got hot, and that 2-month stretch where they were terrible is really who they are. Looking forward to it, though. That's at 7:20 or 7:40 tonight. Some bad news for the Braves. Austin Riley is out, I think, 6 to 8 weeks with an injury, which is actually a good break. Fortunately for the Phillies, because Austin Riley has historically killed them, especially recently. So they do catch a break there. But trust me, the Braves are going to be fired up, and it'd be a good time to take 2 out of 3 from them and just kind of, you can go a long way in starting to hammer that nail into the Braves' coffin if you have a good run here. Wanted to touch base too. I mentioned this a little bit yesterday, but a lot was made about Rob Thompson not pinch hitting Bryce Harper and JT Realmuto. His reason for it was, he said, "Hey, I gave them the day off," and I had a long trip up here, so I was listening to both the midday show and the beginning of the afternoon show, and everybody seems split on this, but I tend to side with the people that, look, if I'm given the day off and you tell me I'm giving the day off, I'm not prepping for playing. And if it was, hey, you're not starting, but be ready in case we need you, that's a different conversation. But it appeared to me that he said, yo, you have the day off, and that's ultimately what he did. But I do think that I think that the anger here at Topper is misplaced, because the fact of the matter is you got guys like Cody Clemens, Rafael Marchand, Scott Kingery, who's lighting it up, Derek Hall, who's lighting it up down at AAA, and you have these guys down there, but Rob Thompson is forced to start what he did. So it shouldn't even come down to having the need to pinch hit for those guys in that position, because Dombrowski, I don't know who makes the decision to call guys up. I would imagine it's Dombrowski, but these dudes are lighting it up. But that is who you choose to bring up. And I get that Stubbs, we talked about it at the trade deadline, is the vibes guy. But screw those vibes right now. You need to put the best 25-man roster out there that you can, because historically, I mean, collapses are there. So I think a lot of that anger was misplaced at Rob Thompson. And to me, listen, I'm a human. If you tell me I have a day off, I'm expecting the day off. And I know Ike was like, well, they're athletes. They were in the dugout. They should have been ready. But you don't know what happened between closed doors. Did he tell them, you're off today, you're not playing? Because it's going to change preparation. I mean, if I get a call, if I'm on my day off and somebody calls me and asks me to troubleshoot something, who knows? Like, I'm not going to be prepared for that. So I get it. I mean, should he have probably pinch hit for them? Absolutely. I mean, that was absolute dreck that hit there in the ninth inning the other night. However, if he told him it's a day off, it's a day off. And the bigger issue is the fact that those guys were in your lineup. So I don't know. And I mean, kudos for him. I mean, he's given two of his best players who've had, JT's still coming back from that knee injury. Bryce has had some soft tissue issues this year with his hamstring and his back. Giving them 2 days off heading into the most important 13-game stretch of the season, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. But let me know your thoughts, because I know there's people on both sides of this. 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. And then the last Phillies story yesterday was the interview that Middleton gave. And I really, really love this. And I think he's very underrated as an owner in this city. He says, listen, we are accountable to the fans. And if you look at the other owners, I mean, the Flyers are owned by a corporation. You don't really know who the owners are. It's really Danny Briere and Keith Jones who are the face, but they're not the owners. You got Laurie, who's probably the most visible owner. And I think Laurie gets it to a certain point with the fans. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think we can all agree that Jeff Lurie's his bottom line is about money. And he's going to do, I'm not saying he doesn't want to win another Super Bowl, but he's looking at marketing and how can he make more money. And then Josh Harris, who would rather play with the Devils and the Commanders anyway. And I think that really hinders and hurts the Sixers, because he's not here and doesn't have a pulse really on what's going on. So I think John Middleton saying that, hey, we're accountable to the fans, I think that was a very underrated interview and an underrated quote, and just goes to show how in tune he is. And I think he might be the best owner in the city. And I know he's part of a group, but he's the face of the franchise. And, I mean, I love it. So that is – I think more owners in the city, I'm looking at you, Josh Harris, specifically – could maybe take a page out of John Middleton's book and maybe just give a half a damn about the team, and maybe the Sixers will be better for it. But big game tonight. Be ready to go, rooting for it. Let's take 2 out of 3 from them and just shut their fans up, shut this team up, and just, God, I hate the Braves. The Braves, I think, have officially overtaken the Mets. So that's why I'm a little bit fired up and just can't stand it. So let's go take 2 out of 3 and really start putting the nail in the coffin and start hammering it in somewhat as well. Be sure to check out my boys at the Clashing Conferences podcast. It's available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. Baseball is in full swing. They're gearing up, I believe, within the next week or so for football season. So stay tuned for that. And then it's still not too late to go to Philly Goat. It's a cooler day, cooler fall-like weather this morning. So go to Philly Goat, get some hoodies, do some back-to-school shopping, get your kids stickers for their water bottles, and be sure to use that promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. And then be ready for the watch party against the Royals on Sunday down at the Palladium in South Philly. Sponsored by Philly Goat. You get to sit down and watch with John Kruk. It should be a good time because Kruk is just an amazing person, and it should be a lot of fun and a lot of good laughs. So go to phillygoat.com, use that promo code Jim Montgomery, and if you are going down, stop by and say hello to me, as I will be there as well. All right, big game today for the Council Rock Newtown Little League team. They are in an elimination game against Hawaii today at 3. Loser goes home. The winner continues to play on. And I've been saying it and try to bring you guys good luck. Just relax out there, boys. Play your game. Have some fun. And let's beat the Hawaiians. We do have a Flyers story today. And I mentioned a few weeks ago the Alexei Kolosov incident where apparently he wanted to go back to Russia because he was forced to stay in a hotel room. The Flyers refuted that, and then it kind of backed off the story. Well, he switched his representation. Still unclear whether or not he is going to stay here or try to request to go back to Russia. But we will find out hopefully within the next month or so, because the Flyers start their rookie camp, which he should be a part of. And I don't know what to make of this. I think from a personnel standpoint for the Flyers, it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of competition in camp with goalies, especially with a team that's young. And you have some quality guys that are in goal. I think the whole iron sharpens iron type deal, but we'll see what goes on as that comes up. But again, competition is competition. It makes everyone better. But I'm not sure whether the new representation is going to take them back or try to get him back to the KHL, or whether he's going to give it one more go in the Flyers organization. All right, today we've talked a lot this baseball season about the Phillies historically. We talked about their 10,000th loss and just how bad of seasons they've had, and how we really need to appreciate and relish in the good times like we're having right now. Well, today we're going to go back to 1961 and possibly one of the worst seasons in Phillies history. On this day, though, they split a doubleheader against the Braves. Phillies lost Game 1 5-2, won Game 2 7-4. In Game 1, they extended their Major League record losing streak to 23 straight. Game 2, it was their first win since July 29th. So they basically extended their record and then ended the record on this day back in 1961. 23 straight losses, but in Game 2 was their first win since July 29th. Could you imagine, as bad as this Phillies stretch was, not winning for 23 straight games? And just the panic that would have set in with the Phillies faithful. To their credit, though, in 1961, they won Game 2 and then won 3 more. So they had a nice little 4-game winning streak after the 23-game losing streak. And it still, to this day, stands as the longest losing streak in Major League Baseball. The closest that anyone has come, the 1988 Orioles lost 21 straight to start the season. Imagine that start, 0-21. And then this year's White Sox team also lost 21 straight, and that just ended on August 6th. But on this day, 1961, Phillies extended their losing streak to 23 games. They ended up finishing 47-107 that year. And amazingly enough, that's not the most losses in Phillies history. In 1941, they had 111 losses. So as bad as this stretch has been for the Phillies, just remember, it could be and was worse. But on this day, they extended the losing streak to 23 games and then ended it in Game 2 as they split a doubleheader with the Braves. Let's hope they get 2 out of 3 from the Braves this week. All right. Finally today, our 20 questions in 20 days about the Eagles. We will recap yesterday's question of the day, and an overwhelming 83% of you said James Bradberry should make the team. Unfortunately, I don't necessarily disagree with you because there's not really a better option right now. I would not be surprised to see Howie make a trade, though. But thank you, as always, for participating in the question of the day. There will be another one later in the show. So today we're going to focus on the rest of the secondary. And obviously it was a weakness of this team last year. And I think you could really take your pick on the weaknesses of this team from last year. But I think somehow Howie has turned last year's glaring weakness into one of the bigger strengths of this team this year. And it looks like Keely Ringo and Darius Slay are going to be your starters on the outside. Not Keely Ringo, Isaiah Rogers, with Keely Ringo getting some reps there too. And I think there's not really a drop-off because both of them have played well in the preseason. And then you got Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, and Avonte Maddox in the nickel. And those guys, all three, have flexibility, which gives you depth. God forbid if there is an injury. Reed Blankenship and C.J. Gardner-Johnson holding down the safeties. I like both of them. I think C.J. Gardner-Johnson is going to really make a big difference in this defense this year, not only from a talent level, but just his swag and just the confidence that he has. That's contagious, and you saw that in 2022 with that Super Bowl year. Maddox could play a little safety. I think they were thinking about maybe putting Cooper DeJean there. I think you can put Quinyon Mitchell into a starting on the outside, which is probably the future. And then there's James Bradberry, who we talked about yesterday, who is a backup safety, I guess, at this point. Could fill in a pinch, even though I don't want him to at corner. And then there's the wild card in all of this. Sidney Brown, who's still on the physically unable to perform list, had the ACL injury he suffered in the game against the Giants last year. He should be back any time now. And I think what his progression is, he says he feels good. He hasn't practiced yet because once he starts practicing, they have to take him off the physically unable to perform list. If he is not off of that list when they get down to the 53-man roster, he has to sit out a minimum of 4 games. So I think what I am thinking they'll do is probably leave him on the PUP list for the first 4 games, see how the season starts, and then kind of figure it out from there. But, I mean, that could be the way to get somebody who might need some depth at cornerback and safety and makes James Bradberry expendable. And who knows, maybe you can get a backup offensive line. Maybe you can get a third receiver or something. Get creative. But I really do think the secondary is going to be a strength this year. I think you got good young corners. You got Slay holding it down. And kudos to him for knowing that his days in Philly are numbered with the young talent that the Eagles have and really stepping up and serving in that mentor role and getting these guys ready. But I think they're going to be fine. I think because we haven't seen it, I think Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis are going to have big years. The pass rush is going to get after the quarterback this year. And we haven't seen it from these guys because they haven't played in the preseason. But I think if you think about the 2 Super Bowl years, getting pressure on the quarterback is what really helped the secondary out. It made guys like Ronald Darby, made guys like Jalen Mills look better than what they were. Now they have some talent in the secondary. So if you get a consistent pass rush, it should allow those guys to just be phenomenal. So I really do think this is a strength. But what do you think? Is the secondary a strength for the Eagles this year after being a glaring weakness? That is the question of the day. 267-495-8531. That is the Back to the Future voice and text line. Call me, text me, find me on social media. But I truly, truly believe Howie did his homework and has turned this into a strength of this team. But what do you think? Let me know your thoughts. Am I drinking the green Kool-Aid, which I always get accused of? So let me know. But is the secondary a strength for this team this year? I mean, if you look at it, Keely Ringo, Darius Slay, Isaiah Rogers, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Reed Blankenship, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and then Sidney Brown, who is going to be chomping at the bit to come back and actually played well down the stretch for the most part. It was one of the few bright spots in the secondary last year. I'm very bullish on this secondary, but are you? 267-495-8531. That is the Back to the Future voice and text line. Let me know your thoughts. On this day in 1961, Phillies split a doubleheader with the Braves. Game 1 was their 23rd straight loss, extending their major league record, which still stands today by 2 games as the longest losing streak in Major League Baseball history. It'd be nice to go on a nice little 23-game win streak to end the season. What do you think? Maybe it's wishful thinking. Phillies Braves tonight. Council Rock Newtown, Hawaii later this afternoon. Getting pumped up for that. Remember, boys, just go out there and be relaxed. Let me know your thoughts on Topper pinch hitting. Is the anger displaced, or am I not holding Rob Thompson accountable? And then let me know your thoughts on John Middleton's comments as well. I really like it. And like I said, I would love to see Josh Harris take a page out of that book. Remember, Usain Bolt trained 4 years for 9 seconds. So if something gives up or something gets hard in a couple weeks and you're not seeing the results you want, don't give up. Just keep working harder and figure out what's going wrong and make the changes and then get better from there. All right. Good luck to those teams today. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for August 20th, 2024. I apologize for the sound, and if I stumbled over some words today, it's kind of hard with the freight train going on and off in my ear. Go have yourselves a Tuesday. Hopefully I will stay safe today or tonight sleeping in this room again. But until next time, this is Jim Montgomery saying I'll see you when I see you.